pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So the first topic that we got is a resignation letter from Mrs. Corey Price as school school district number 7 board chair.
Make a motion to approve the resignation of Lake County School District 7 Board Director, Board Chair, Ms. Corey Price, as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to accept the resignation of LCSD 7 board director, chair, Ms. Corey Price. All in favor?
Aye.
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 The other thing that we need to think about on that is, before we go into the next one, is we're gonna have a meeting over that to appoint into her position for the last 2 years of her term, correct?
Yep.
And so we probably need to do that by the next board meeting, which is June 14th, I believe.
The next board meeting is June 14th, so you probably need a special one before that.
Okay, so we'll have to do a meeting together.
Yeah, so I can be in touch with you guys as soon as tomorrow.
Will that process be actually appointing somebody or determining the process?
I think that's what I read on today. So, moving forward, we need to elect a new CSD 7 board chair.
Make a motion to have Scott Hall be the board chair.
I have a motion to elect Scott Hobble as the LCSD 7 board chair. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Yes, aye. All right, there we go. So we've elected Scott Hall as the new LCSD 7 board chair. All right, so approval of amended or meeting agenda
Okay.
items.
I move to amend the agenda by adding new business item number 10.3. And the title can be 4-day school week beginning in 2023-2024 school year.
Okay. I've had a motion to amend the meeting agenda items and add 10.3, the 4-day school week, for further action. Do I have a motion?
Need a second.
Oh, do I need a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So, approval, yeah, approve that. You guys put me on the spot. So moving on, number 5, approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I move to approve the meeting minutes of April 5th, 2023 and April 26th, 2023 as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the meeting minutes of April 5th, 2023 and April 26th, 2023 as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. So moving right along, good news, Mr. Carter.
First, I'm going to jump protocol a little bit. Ms. Holtzman, you got some news we got in the email today that we got to share.
Yeah, so one of our middle school students, Alita Finetti, won the 2023 Oregon Sources of Strength Showcase Peer Leader Award. And it's about awarding students who are working to create belonging and connection in their schools and community. And there's going to be a virtual showcase on May 25th at 4 p.m. So congratulations.
So first thing, we have Teacher Appreciation Week going on real well in all the buildings, so thanks to all the administrative team, support staff to make it special. We had some nice lunches and other things going on the entire week, so appreciate the teachers, so thank you for all the work. We had the Honker Preschool grand opening just right before this meeting, and that was phenomenal. Really great to see that, and it's a dream come true. Special thanks to the town council, of course, for their work, but the county commissioners for getting the funding and everything, the hospital, and of course, the school board. Thank you all for letting us do this. It's a great opportunity for our kids. We have 25 spots, but we have to work with those, and then 12 right now, so we're going to be expanding that program. We're very excited about that. Nice work to Jennifer Schultz and her crew, so thank you for that ribbon ceremony. The kids are excited as well. Right now, we have some news about our budget, which is going to impact us pretty heavy, and this is something that's coming around the entire state and around the country. So our insurance rates have increased due to various things. So I would like to have our insurance agent, Mr. Rucker, if you don't mind, give us an update.
All right, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Andrew Rucker. I'm with Multipolar Insurance, and I'm your agent on record with PACE. PACE is the insurance pool that was formed by OSBA and Special Districts Association of Oregon. And over 200 schools participate in this pool, including public schools, charters, and small community colleges as well. So in April, I took a class. Mr. Carter was there as well, and he went to PACE Day up in Sun River. They disclosed a little bit of information, but in that meeting they also disclosed that the reinsurer rates hadn't come in yet. And so I went to a PACE update meeting. Okay, so I got one more. Went to a PACE update meeting where they spoke a little more about this hard market that we're in. Hard market may be a new term to you, so I'll explain a little bit about what a hard market is. So due to national and global catastrophic losses, so large hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, things of that nature, along with other things like being at war, there is actually some insurance that is paid out when we're at war. And having a global pandemic created this large, hard market that we're in for the last 5 years. And by the way, do I need to turn around and face the camera at all?
You're talking.
Okay, all right.
The
So we're in this hard market for 5 years. It's the longest hard market that we've ever seen. And the problem with having this hard market is that insurance that becomes available through reinsurance companies gets really hard to get. They clamp down on their underwriting guidelines. They limit the amount of coverage that they give, and then they're going to charge you an astronomical price for you to obtain it. So what I handed out to you is a little form that how do I want to say his name? He was a specialist, an economic specialist, and he was reviewing the market, and this is what he had to say, that there's 4 main things driving this hard market: industry losses, inflation, interest rates, and an imbalance in the market. How much time do I have, by the way?
4 or 5 minutes.
4 or 5 minutes. Okay, so you guys all know we're in inflation right now, 40-year high, about 9%. He said on average property reconstruction is about 15%. I think that's a little bit higher in our area where Casey go. You can kind of vouch for that. I think we're a little bit higher than 15% in our market, maybe 18 to 20%. And that anytime that you have the formula rate times value equals premium, as the value increases, the premium has to increase as well. Our interest rate, it's come up some, but the problem is that it hasn't come up high enough. So the way that inflation stops is the interest rate has to supersede the inflation. Right now they're saying that we're on average about 9%. The interest rate hasn't come up above that, and since it hasn't come above it, it hasn't stopped the hard market. And the reason that I say that is that insurance companies per law invest about 60% of their conservative assets, which are bonds, for claim solvency. As interest rates increase, as we started to see bond values decrease, which lowers the financial security that's out on the market. You guys remember those two banks in California that went belly up? This is exactly why. They bought bonds too high, interest rate went up, bond values dropped, they had to sell their bonds, they left with their hands tied. So they closed up shop. So there's an imbalance in the market because of that fluctuation. So the reinsurance companies, your large global ones like Chubb, AIG, Lloyd's of London, they go, whoa, 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 we don't want to sell any more insurance. We want to cut back on what we're selling. But the insurance companies say, hey, our solvency just went down, we need to purchase more insurance, so can you sell it to us? So what happens is, the property reinsurers go out to them and say, hey, if you're a really clean customer with no losses, we'll sell it to you at 40 to 50% of a rate increase. If you have minimal losses, we'll sell it to you at 70 to 80% increase. And if you have major or catastrophic losses, it's over 100%. You guys see where this is going? Okay. So the problem also is there's no change in sight. So the news I'm delivering to you today could be the same news I'm going to come back and deliver to you next year. So, rates right now that we're seeing through PACE, on the reinsurer side, I just got wind of this on Monday, they're going to pay about 40% more for the same property coverage that they had last year. The liability side, they're going to pay anywhere from 10 to 15% more for that. So that's a 50 to 55% rate increase for the same coverage that we had last year. PACE is pretty good about not delivering that same amount down to their insurers, down to their districts, excuse me. But they did just get wind on Monday that they're doing an average of 18% rate increase is what's trending for all of the school districts. So what's that mean? What's that break down to dollars? Okay? So in 2021, when your policy renewed, we renewed at 141,000. Last year when we renewed at 161,000. So we had a $20,000 rate increase in this hard market. If we're staring at close to a 20% or an 18 or above, we're looking at another $30,000 rate increase. $50,000 in 2 years. So PACE is trying really hard to keep your rate low and not carry over that 40% that they're seeing and experiencing. I don't know for how long they're going to be able to continue to do that. So when you guys are sitting down and looking at your budget, I want you guys to have some solid numbers based on what's going on out in the market. So I've already talked to Janet, and I've already talked with Michael, and that's why Michael asked me to come here tonight to explain to you guys what we're looking at in this hard market. Now, is this just for schools? No. This is not just for commercial. This is going to be on your home. It's going to be on your auto. It's going to be on our ATV and your boat too. It's a hard market right now. Everybody's suffering. It's fun every day at my job, right? So guys, sorry to be the bearer of some bad news, but I needed to give it to you guys straight, let you know what it is that we're looking at. I don't have a final number yet for our district. I will have that once the proposal gets turned in and they reword that and send it back out. And once I have that number, I'll deliver it to Janet and to Michael so that they both have those numbers.
But it's at least 18%.
That's what they're saying is trending right now, is at least 18%. Yeah.
So the state of Oregon doesn't just give us 18% of money. We will have to make some cuts.
That will impact us unless that's a person.
So as soon as I know, you guys will know what we're looking at on that rate increase. Okay?
Any questions?
Any questions for me?
Thank you for making the time.
You bet. Thank you guys for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I got a 3-chair here because I got youth group to go to. So if anybody would like a seat, come on over. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Mr. Chairman, the next item, we've got some exit interviews. So there are 7 questions asked in the exit interview. The employee is allowed to bring someone with them, and only one person selected to do that. We just write down the answers to each one of the questions, and we'll go through them right now with you. So Roger Burley, what was the most enjoyable aspect of your employment? Students and colleagues. What was the most challenging part? Figuring out what the job was and how to supervise and get things organized to go forward. Were you supported by your administrators most of the time? Yes. Do you feel supported by the community most of the time? Yes. What would you describe the perfect candidate to replace you? Someone who has knowledge about custodial scheduling and all the different aspects of custodial work to move on to task and to keep things organized. Do you have any suggestions about improving staff morale? I think it needs to come all the way from the district office to the buildings down to the classroom. Keep things truly more upbeat. We need to be a lot more positive, a lot of negative people out there. Is there anything you'd like the school board to know to improve the organization? A number of people sometimes feel like they're numbers and they're not listened to in the beginning. There needs to be a cultural shift and a lot more positive and a lot more happiness, and make sure people understand that we need to thrive and survive. Donna Nickel. So Donna, first question, most enjoyable aspect of your employment? The students and staff. The district has been great overall, especially with job sharing, and I ran into my children, and later on last year I could not have made it to help support my parents during crisis and the death of my father, especially from the district office. Was there a most challenging aspect of your position? She said the energy and time. The work it takes to take care of 7- and 8-year-olds is a challenge. She says it's 50 hours a week if you want to do a very good job, and she says a quality lesson takes time. Do you feel you're supported by your building supervisor, admin? She said yes. It was a challenge whenever there was only Susan, because Fremont sometimes felt left on their own. Then Dusty showed up, and that added a great new dimension, and Fremont has an identity, I believe, for the first time, and was totally supported, and Fremont has been developing its own identity. District administration and staff, I looked, yes, especially during the difficult times. I was really supported last year, and she mentioned her father again. Also, when my daughter was having a baby. Do you feel you're supported by the community? Yes, but lately not as much. The negativity takes a toll. 5, how would you describe the perfect candidate to replace you? I believe we found them. Success is keeping, so that was a real nice thing. She talked about people she's been training with the curriculum development. They are really fabulous, and they're going to do a great job. Do you have any suggestions for improving staff morale? Communication is the key, having people be heard, and also they need to realize that they need to discuss real problems, not just feelings. They need to have some bonding time and do things outside of school, because we can't seem to socialize much during the school day. More social. Building improvements, what would you like the board to know about? Question 7. Building improvements are greatly needed. They are old, they need paint. We need paint inside and out, like we used to do the crews in the summertime. Outside of Fremont, the appearance needs a really big facelift. Number 2, low pay. I have a niece that works in Grants Pass, and it's $20,000 more a year than we are, and we need to get that taken care of. This will affect my PERS. I have really enjoyed working with the district, especially the last 2 years. The addition of Dusty has been great. I had one student who within 20 days, was not coming to school and bringing down the entire class. But with Dusty's help, with this high-need student, we changed the culture, and that student is back in school, no more ISS, and that student has been extremely successful this year, something I would not have bet on earlier. Finally, I want the district board to know that the district has a great program to support high-need students. I've heard from other districts this is not happening. We are really getting a lot of help from the district and from our administration, and I'm proud that our district has added the extra supports to support the high-need students. This is not the same in other districts. Susan Albertson, what was the most enjoyable aspect of your employment? Working with the kids and their families. What was the most challenging? Bringing the EL students up to grade level is very hard, especially learning things second language. Do you feel you're supported by your building supervisor? Yes. Building administrator? Yes. District office support staff? Yes. The school and the district made me feel very valued, and I needed some help, and they stepped in and helped me. And I became certified because of their efforts. How would you describe a perfect candidate? I'm having a hard time with this one. I really would like someone who could speak and be bilingual, but I think the key thing here is relationships and working with the families and have the heart of the kids in center. Do you have any suggestions for improving staff morale? Nothing concrete. I just believe that people need to realize that we're doing our best in serving our kids. The challenges of bilingual students is extremely hard. Is there anything you'd like the school board to know about the district in order to improve the organization? Facilities need improvement. Don't forget some windows need broken, so she asked me to get those fixed. She also said the value of professional development is really needed. We need to increase professional development, keep it going. It makes a difference and helps us do our job. Grow our own and keep them working and keeping them back in our school. We need to get people who really are invested in our community and our schools. And individual growth of students need to be our #1 priority with EL students. Dylan Bretris was a custodian who left us, and he said, what is the most enjoyable aspect? He said, well, the most enjoyable was the people and the kids. In the beginning, it was not the kids. They became my biggest challenge. I had to learn to work with kids, and I absolutely loved that and became my favorite part. He said, what's the most other part? He said, the challenge of my job is I do it over and over again, the monotony of it, and it's sometimes thankless because you can learn the same things over and over again. You feel you're supported by supervisor? Yes, yes. Most of the time, yes. I told him I hit a ceiling. I was hoping that I may come back to the district in the future. I really would like to come back and work in the district some other time when I get some other skills. Do you feel you're supported by your community? Yeah. How would you describe a perfect candidate? Someone who is more patient and who doesn't mind monotony. I'm a good employee, but I'm not patient enough, and I need to be a little more patient, especially at the elementary level. Do you have any suggestions for improving staff morale? I don't know. We're losing some good people, but they have to realize that school is about kids. Many of them moved on for good paying jobs. Is there anything you'd like the board to know? None. My experience has been good, not good enough for me right now, but I hope in the future. The last one we have was Teresa Shine. What was the most enjoyable aspect of your employment for the district? She said, working with the kids. You can't beat that. Most challenging, working with the kids. Some of these are fun. Do you feel you're supported by your building supervisor? Susan, yes, she has been outstanding to me and she always listens. District administration person, yes, does it a lot. Do you feel you're supported by the community? Yes. How would you describe a perfect candidate? They found her, and we're very blessed to have her. Do you have any suggestions for improving staff morale? This is a hard one. It needs to be done. It's a continual open process, and I think we need to make sure people understand all the good things we're doing. There's a lot of bias in the community that needs to go get better checked. Treat everyone, she said in the past, people were not treated equally. In the future now, we have been treated equally, and it's making a difference. It's not always been the case in the past. Make everybody feel and be treated equally. And then she said, for the board, they need to make sure you do all your work knowing to put kids first. Any questions? Hope that process is still helpful for you. Good deal. Moving right along. Well, the next thing is most of our packet, the 400-something pages, dealt with this particular aspect of the 4-day school week. So we've included these surveys in all the packets. So every survey is included from the staff and from the community. There's no comments or anything deleted. So that being said, there are 4 major things that I think that came across from a lot of people. And then I also had a community member come to my office and voiced a concern because they wanted to speak, but after I explained the policy, she is allowing me to say a couple things. I hope I do her justice. So first of all, the 4-day concerns, food security, you're going to see that all the way through there. Classified losing money, the daily schedule. So let's talk about food security. We're working hard. If the board decides to go that way and gives us working orders, we will make sure that our kids have, we're talking to Rebecca, and then we can actually have some extra stuff with backpack program and other programs for our kids to make sure they have food. Dealing with the classified losing money, the board has made that a mandate. If we go this direction, we will work hard. Those who want to work some extra time will be able to do so and have a place for our kids to go on Fridays and do some other things. Remediation, there's some other options that we can cover, and we will steal it from other school districts who are already in this process. The next thing that brought up is the daily schedule. People were very concerned about, the start time and end time. And even in my community concern, that was one of the things they brought up. They were worried about elementary having a very long day. Our school day will start between 7:50 and end by 4 o'clock, somewhere within that realm. So theoretically, it could be 7:52, ending at 3:51. Just depends. on what we can fit there. We have a state requirements at the high school and at the elementary to make sure the number of time, and also preschool, the number of days we have to meet in minutes. So the days will have to be longer to make those minutes. The next concern was about the school year, and people had this concept that maybe it went into the summer. The school year will start at the same time in September and finish by that second week of June, just like it does now. So the adjustment will be there. If we go forward with this, it was over 80% of both surveys stated that they really believe that the 4-day work week would serve the needs of Lake County School District 7 better at this time. So that's what the survey stated. We do have to have both unions agree to this, so we have to get union buy-in. I don't see the unions having much of an issue since most of their staff want this to happen, but I also know this is a major shift in working conditions. And if this happens, one of the things people are worried about is, are we going to wind up working Fridays on PD? The schedule that most of us would work on in Oregon that fit the time would be professional development on once a month on a Friday. It might not be a full day. In Oregon, you're allowed to count 30 hours of PD development towards the classroom time. So that's a very important stat to know. So that's one reason we do that. That would also be an opportunity if people wanted to work, if we wanted to have that, that'd be a great time for remediation and for tutoring of our staff, or our kids. So that is the issue there. Community concerns, so when I met with one of our community members, she wanted to make sure we need to know, she believes we need to have more discussion before we go forward on this, have a more roundtable discussion with all the community more involved. She is concerned about the well-being of the community, and she's concerned about the very long day for our elementary students, especially the kinders. So I think I tried to summarize 382 pages, but you can read it all yourself. It's pretty extensive. There are some great comments in there, but I wanted to address the major trends. Are there any questions about this from the board?
Could you give us the numbers on responses from teachers and class and certain
Teachers, we had 201 pages, and in our work session we had, if you look at that, we had over 80-something staff members. So this one here had 300, and I've got the last count, remember, 350 something?
352 responses.
Yeah, 352.
That was as of Friday afternoon.
So Friday afternoon, 352. So huge response. And that included students and everything else in there, and community. That answer your question?
Thank you.
So those are it, and I apologize to our community member if I missed some of the key aspects they wanted me to cover, but they thought it might be better to have better discussion, discuss more pros and cons and the community well-being. Okay, any other questions about the 4-day work week?
Well, it'll be on 10.3 as well.
It will be, I just want to make sure I covered the survey.
Okay.
Okay, next thing is district information. There's been a lot of rumors, especially on social media, that I wanted to take a short time here to discuss. There's a rumor out there about 101 employees. It's actually 91. 17 of them left before I got here. 5 left for COVID requirements. 3 retired and returned back to the district to work. Many others left to be closer to family, more pay, returned to school, retired, changing educational standards and requirements they didn't believe in. And others left the profession entirely. There were others that didn't like the way the district followed the contract, having accountability for the proper use of leaves. Just to name a few reasons individuals cited for leaving. This is the same around the state and the country, and Lake County School District is not alone. We heard this at the state conference 2 weeks ago. This is the #1 problem people were having. The turnaround in Oregon is close to 38%. So a lot of people are having that. And of course, you've got some budget cuts coming. You read yesterday that Portland's cutting 190 teachers. Beaverton, cut 190 teachers, and Portland's at 200. So I wanted to make sure I let people know that. Next thing, there's a rumor out there that I have recommended termination of 1 teacher, and the school board upheld that recommendation. I have fired 2 coaches, and for various reasons. If those individual coaches who were fired sign a release of information from their working and personnel files, I would love to let the public know why I terminated them. There are 2 sides to every story. So if they sign those releases, I'll be glad to share that, why they were removed from their coaching responsibilities. The third rumor out there is about the Daily Fund. The Daily Fund is a valued institution in this community. It's been here for over 100 years. It's one of the things I totally believe in. I use it as a recruiting tool. I'm going to pick on Dr. Hartley here. I told you about the Daily Fund with a freshman coming in.
Absolutely.
It's one of the things that we use, because it's one of the great things about Lakeview. That being said, the Daily Fund is a very valued institution. Over 14 months ago, I voiced a couple of concerns that I wanted the trustees to address. I have nothing to do with the trustees, I have no influence on them. One of the concerns I have is when students are attending different online programs, the GPA and class ranks that are part of the matrix for selection of the Daily Fund, how do you make that congruent and equitable when you have all these different programs? When our kids are working in person, I question that. Equity is a major issue here. The degree of rigor for different programs and different online programs can actually hurt some of our kids who are in person. And that defeats, I think, what Dr. Daly wanted. The next part is that it may be possible, in the right circumstances, for a student to be online and not to live in Lake County. So I actually use my own personal example. I had joint custody of my daughter. So when my daughter was growing up, she went to my school half the time and my ex-wife's school half the time. And that time, she could actually lived here and been online in Lake County and never lived here. And that's why I said, please look at the rules to try to keep up with the Daily Fund. And that's all I said. I do not want to ever see any kid lose the opportunity for Daily Fund. All I want is equity. That's important to me. I think it's important for our kids. I have no influence or say on the Daily Fund process, except that I'm a major supporter. And I will do whatever I can to make sure our kids get the same opportunity as they deserve countywide. That's all I'm going to talk about, Mr. Chair. And that's my report. Any questions? Okay, thank you, sir.
All right. Moving on to the public comment tonight, we have two. So I got a little public comment form that I need to read here before we get started. And then I will call on you in order that I have them here in the book. So, public comment. And this is in reference to the board policy DBH, public comment at board meetings. The school board normally accepts public comment only at its regularly scheduled meetings. Members of the public who wish to address the board should notify the superintendent, board chair, or board secretary prior to the public meeting. Public comment is not normally accepted at special meetings or work sessions. Questions asked by the public when possible, will be answered immediately by the chair or referred to a staff member for reply. Questions requiring investigation may, at the discretion of the chair, be referred to the superintendent for a response at a later time. Speakers may offer subjective criticism of district operations and programs, but the board will not hear complaints concerning individual district personnel. The chair will direct the visitor to the appropriate means of the board consideration and disposition of legitimate complaints involving individuals. And it says, see board policy KL, public comments and public complaint procedures. The school board welcomes participation in each board meeting during public comment. Individuals addressing the board are asked to provide and submit an intent to speak card prior to the start of the regular session. Refer to the board policy BDH-AR. Statements should be brief and concise. Please limit comments to 3 minutes. A 15-second notification will be given before the completed 3 minutes. Announce your name before speaking and discuss in regards to any individual district staff will not be allowed. Refer to the board policy KL. Be courteous of others and follow board established procedures for meeting. Notification is given to speakers that meetings may be recorded. And I do believe we are being recorded this evening. So, moving forward, Mrs. Stratton, you did put a speak thing in for the last meeting and this one. I got it right here. And so it sounds like the topic is the community concern. So
again, I'm Tanya Stratton, and at the last board meeting, I was denied public comment because I did not submit my intent to speak within 72 hours according to your board chair. The board chair explained that they are now going to start following the rules now. However, I was also fired from coaching volleyball because it came off that I was rude when I said, so I won't be able to speak today. I'm sorry if I was rude. I didn't intend to be rude. But I was also taken by surprise that you tend to only follow policy and procedures when it appears that it is convenient for you. For instance, at the last board meeting, you allowed public comment/questions shortly after I was denied. Some examples of not following your own policy are inter-district transfers, hiring practices, posting board agendas in each district facility, and public complaints. So my question is, why does there have to be so much confusion about speaking at a board meeting? Your policy states if you want to submit a written comment, you have to submit it 72 hours in advance, but it will not be read at the meeting. This is not the same as an oral comment. Everywhere it reads, submit your intent to speak card to the board secretary prior to the board meeting. The policy I am referring to is BDDH and BDDHAR. I feel I have been targeted and discriminated against. Can you please clarify your public comment policy?
So I'll just comment on this one, Ms. Stratton, because today I just had this conversation that looking at this policy even further, because there's been a lot of questions about it, that we needed to go through and do some revision on it. Because the 72-hour thing is not very clear, it's not very well written in there. This is just stuff that I've noticed on my own.
Well, it's for written. It specifically says for written. So is
Yes.
that also correspondence? Is written the same as correspondence?
And that's the one thing that we had that discussion about, we need to get clarified on. And that's something that today just came up just a few hours ago in a discussion that I had as well. So I am going to be looking into clarifying that and trying to change that procedure to make it a lot more clear, a lot more streamlined, and a lot easier for
I
everybody to make
appreciate
comment.
it. I hope that you understand how I feel that I was targeted and discriminated because I wasn't allowed to speak. And then I also came off as rude at the board meeting, and I made a special trip to town to speak, and then I was denied of my turn, and somebody else was able to speak when I was denied. So, thank you for listening. I have a couple more things. I also wanted to comment about the daily fund, and just listening to Mr. Carter's response. That is directly my complaint, and I feel like it is not your right to tell students who can get the daily fund and who can't get the daily fund. That's the daily fund board. And you also mentioned that 91 employees left the district, and I was just wondering how you would know why people left the district if you didn't do exit interviews. Another comment I would like to make is reading what board member Barry Schimmelberger said in the paper, that as a public school, we are required by state law to provide classes and extracurricular activities if we are the closest school, and the online school cannot provide these opportunities. It has already been communicated to some parents that online kids cannot take ag or FFA or participate in honor society due to their online status, even your own online Lakeview Academy students. With this being said, what is the board going to do next school year when you have students that are online, either Lakeview Academy or not, or homeschooled? We already know that kids can participate in OSAA sports. You have students that have been turned down that are going online outside of Lakeview Academy, but homeschool students can take classes. This is not equitable, especially if it is the state law. Can the community get clarification on what the process will be in determining participation in courses and school-sponsored activities this next school year? That's a huge concern within the community. I had a close friend who was denied to take ag because they were going to go to a different online class, and they were also told that they would not get the daily fund. So we're wanting to know, as a community, with all these other things that are happening, what is the school district going to do for kids that are doing multiple homeschool, Lakeview Academy, not Lakeview Academy,
Well,
if it's a state law?
I'm just gonna say, time's up, but I'll address this. I think it's something that I have to have further conversation on, Mrs. Stratton, because I don't have a clear answer for you right now. Okay, so I'm gonna have to move on, but it's something that maybe we can have a further discussion on.
That was 3 minutes,
And it was like 5.
but you responded to my question.
I'd like, do you have additional that you would like to say?
I do.
How much more time can you?
Probably a minute.
Okay, I'll give you an additional couple.
Okay. Who conducted the exit interviews?
Mr. Carter, you conducted the exit interviews, but how it's set up, that if somebody wants to have a person in the room with them while the exit interview is being conducted, that person that is in the exit interview can have an additional person come sit in, and it could be any kind of representation that they choose.
Okay. So how are the board members going to get the real truth? Do you really think that employees are going to spill the beans and still expect to get a good recommendation for another job?
Okay. I'm gonna have to stop you right now.
So,
Thank you, Mrs. Stratton, I really appreciate it. Moving on to Mrs. O'Brien.
Alright, so Amanda O'Brien, and I have two things that I want to talk about today. The first is the approved instructional calendar that you guys approved a couple meetings ago. And one of the teacher in-service day periods are set for Thursday, August 24th through the 31st. But the 31st is check-in day at the fair. And if you guys have kids, you know that is probably the most hectic day at the fair and the one day we really need all hands on deck. So this affects all FFA advisors, all 4-H leaders who are teachers, and all 4-H and FFA parents who are teachers. In the past, while that Thursday was technically an in-service day, the district still allowed the teachers to help the kids and then come in as they could or if they could. And last year it was changed to Wednesday before the fair. So this year, what are teachers supposed to do? Are they going to still be kind of allowed to do it? Do they have to use comp time, vacation time, flex time, or do they just have to grin and bear it and forego helping their students? I think it's another reason that satisfaction is low, because they're looking at, this is not helping their kids. So I'm just asking and proposing that you guys consider changing the in-service day back to Wednesday, so just moving it back one day. Second thing I need to discuss is the budget. And I know you guys all feel like we're beating a dead horse. But the last meeting, Corey said that $2,000 came from the general fund and about $2,500 came from various other parts of the budget and grants. We as a community demand and deserve to know exactly which grant and budget areas those funds came from. Given teacher spending freezes, no money for senior awards, asking parents to donate for Teacher Appreciation Week, and other student-related funding issues, how can a party really be deemed appropriate even if it is only 0.0002% of the budget? And according to Barry's interview with the paper, the $2,500 came from a grant that's supposed to pay for student work and activities, and that they envision this money being reinvested back into Lakeview and the community. Last I checked, a community party for adults does not constitute either student work nor student activities. And reinvestment in the community is great. I'm a volunteer. I'm all about reinvesting into the community. But when money is tight, we need to invest in our schools first. We have to help ourselves before we can help others, or we're not going to be healthy. So I was curious about the money spent, because I don't want to go off and say, hey, this is irresponsible. Are you guys on the low end of the donors, middle of the road, high end? So I went to the chamber and I asked 3 questions. Who the donors and sponsors were and how much they donated, if award recipients were comped their dinners or if they had to be purchased, because I don't know, and what the funds raised at the gala would be used towards. Initially I was told no problem, just give me a couple days and I'll get the answers to you. Then I was called back and told that I would need to do a proper information request and fill out an information request form. When I asked for the form, she didn't know if they had one and would have to get back to me on exactly how to submit one. I did do an information request, and on May 1st they got back to me and unilaterally refused every single question I asked. One of my questions stating, or every single one of my questions stating that as a nonprofit, I'm almost done.
Okay, I was going to ask you how much more?
Maybe 1 minute max. They stated that as a nonprofit, they don't have to abide by the Freedom of Information Act. So the fact that they were unsure of the information protocols really piqued my interest and got me curious, and I learned 3 things. 1, Mr. Carter is on the board of the Chamber of Commerce. This makes sense. He's a representative of the school district. But that also makes a $4,500 purchase a pretty major conflict of interest. 2, according to the Citizens United versus FEC Supreme Court ruling, not disclosing donors is allowed. But when a nonprofit that has any potential influence refuses to disclose donors, they are then classified as a dark money group. So finally, I've heard unofficially from a very reliable source that people involved with the chamber have now been instructed to not give any information in regard to either the gala or the Carter, or to Mr. Carter. So,
Just gonna say if it's unofficial, I'm probably not gonna let you keep going with this,
Okay.
okay?
okay, so I won't talk anymore about that. But because of the district's failure to be forthright and open, and his influence and role with both the chamber and the district, the chamber has now become a dark money organization, and 2 separate groups have now had solely names.
I am gonna cut you off.
I'm done.
Thank you, Ms. O'Brien. Appreciate your comments. So that does conclude the comment.
And I can answer both those if you like.
If you would like to.
We're aware of the issue with the weigh-ins. We know that's very important for us. We've already made accommodations because
Oh,
we
that's
have,
not the weigh-ins. First
I mean,
first
whatever.
day of the fair.
we need our staff to go work with their kids FFA. So whatever they're gonna do, weigh in or clean up, whatever they're gonna be doing, we understand the need. That being said, we have almost 7.5 hours of in-service stuff that staff has to do on their own. They'll be able to do that on their own, so we've flexed that already, we worked it out. So staff, I think, already knew that, but I wanna make sure everyone knows it now publicly.
Thank you.
Okay, second thing is $2,500 came from the fire. There's this open, public record. That money was done to help benefit the school at all things, there's no guidelines for it. So $2,500 came from the fire, $2,000 came from the general fund. As for the chamber, I was not appointed to the board until this, the gala was already booked. So I want to make sure you understand that I was ex folio, which means I had no voting rights, and that was just happened recently. So I have nothing to do with that. I'm also not on the executive committee, so I do not know anything what you're talking about there. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for the comments. Appreciate it. We're gonna go ahead and move on to reports, and I don't think ASB should
Didn't
make
make
it.
it. They're so busy getting ready for the school day.
So let's go ahead and move on to Mr. Gerber with the youth council.
All right, guys. I'm just gonna give a little update on what I've been up to with the kids. Last week, we got to go to KCC Open House. And if you guys have never been to this, it's the second year they've done it. If you've never been to it or haven't heard about it, I recommend checking it out, especially if you have youngsters that are interested in college. It was fun, it was a good day, it was a full day, they were tired, but they were begging to stay, so a lot of activities. They talked about all the careers that they have available there. They had a whole parking lot full of food trucks, and it was just a good day for them. So I just wanted to talk about that, because that was a good day. Work program. So as of today, we have 42 students in work program. And thank you to Victoria Ward and Klamath Works, we have 28 out of those 42 getting wages also. So that's a huge deal for the kids right now. They're getting wages plus credit, so pretty cool. And I'm hoping Klamath Works is finished up with us at the end of the school year, and I'm hoping that we can just start right back up in September and pick that back up, because that was a pretty neat deal. And when I'm saying wages, these kids are scattered out throughout the community, and they're making $12.50 an hour working for local employers. So it's a way to help out the community also. And if you guys know of anybody who needs help, you have your own store, shop, whatever, Klamath Works comes in and pays the wages, and you guys get the student. And it's just required that you guys supervise and teach what you can, and they will. So, my summer work cruise. So the summer work cruise, that is officially The interviews are done. I have 3 work crew bosses hired. 2 of them are right there, Joel and Carly. We have 15 kids that are done interviewing, and they are all hired to start, and that starts June 12th.
32 hours a week, right?
32 hours a week, 4 days. So they still get their weekends. 410 was pushing them a little too hard, so we want to make sure they're comfortable. That is trail maintenance, campground cleanup, fence building, a little bit of educational pieces in there, stop at some monuments and stuff. But those kids are going to be making $15 an hour, so 15-year-olds making $15 an hour is pretty nice. They don't complain too much about that, so pretty good deal. And that's the updates I have for you guys. Thank you.
Student services.
I have basically everything written down, so if you want to relax. All right, so it's been a very, very busy month in student services, and we accomplished a lot. The most important thing that I want to talk to you about today is the district's tag plan. I'll just kind of scatter them around, and if you guys want to just glance, these are part of the district tag plan that will very soon be posted on the district's website. Go like this, does that work? That will very soon be posted on the district website, and I'm super excited because the disaster wasn't any of my fault. So that's really nice to get to come in and clean up someone else's mess. So I think the state just last year passed new tag laws, and all districts were supposed to send people to these tag meetings to figure out all the new things that we needed to do. And our district was way out of compliance with all of the new laws and even probably some of the old laws. So currently we have about less than 1% of our student population identified as tag. Yeah.
You might just give the acronym.
Oh, talented and gifted. I'm sorry. I've been living there for like a really long time. So tag is talented and gifted. So we currently have less than 1% of our student population identified as tag. And the new laws state you need to have between 5% and 10% of our students identified. So we had to create a new process that aligned with all of the state's rules, and I attended 2 meetings. I had a couple one-on-ones with the tag lady from the state to get us all lined up. Created a really great tag team of community partners, parents, a building representative from each of our buildings, administration, special education, mental health from the community. We had a big group, a past student who probably should have been identified as talented and gifted when they were going to school year. And we worked through all of the documents that the state was asking us to do, and we created what I believe is a very equitable plan, and it's very focused on let's find the kids that are talented and gifted in our community. And that's what's very beautiful about the new tag rules, is that we're looking for local kids. We're not comparing Lakeview kids to Portland kids or Eugene kids or even Medford climate. It's local.
So like some of our welding kids and some of our
Yes.
diesel mechanics and stuff before that would not have been a gifted and talented criteria, but the way Jen's designed the program with her team, this will be an opportunity for us to praise kids who really excel at some things that are meaningful to life.
Yep. Meaningful for our area too. So the very first page that you see is a 1-pager, and it just kind of summarizes our philosophy that we created within the tag team. And then who, why, and how. And we have a new identification process, which our old identification process had 1 way in, and we now have 3 ways in. So parents, students, or teachers can refer students that they think may be talented and gifted. I'm getting a lot of that right now, and I'm so excited. I'm going to be working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all the way through the summer, Dr. Carter, so watch out. The second is universal screeners, and not everybody really knows what that is, but that's a screener that will screen for intelligence. So it's kind of more of your traditional test, and because we have a really low opt-out rate for our state test, we can use SBAC as a universal screener, but I really like it. So I chose COGAT, which is the Cognitive Abilities Test, and we will give it in 2nd grade and in 9th grade, and then I can also use SBAC to get in. So, am I going too fast? Okay. And then our 3rd way is gifted profiles, and if you guys can't read this, just blame ODE. But this is a list of profiles that are indicative of talented and gifted students. Kids who don't get good grades are sometimes talented and gifted. Kids who don't come to school regularly are sometimes talented and gifted. Kids with high behavior problems are sometimes talented and gifted. So I'm excited, we'll use this 3 times a year in all of our classes for teachers to kind of go through and say, who maybe fits one of these profiles? Gonna pass them on to Jen and see what we can get out of that.
So now what this benefits our students, like if we're going to go to like Perry Tech or something like that, if they're identified this way, it actually helps them with their admission. So
Yep.
this is the part that I guess I'm going to bring it down to a real simple level here for all of us who are not educational, into all that stuff.
Thank you,
The bottom line, the bottom line is this allows us to get some more opportunities for our kids to access some of the scholarships and funds that they have not had previously.
So, in your consent agenda is the 39-page document that I worked really, really hard on. And I put in, the state offered us like a, what is it called? Well, like, the take plans were due May 1st.
Oh, the
Ours
template.
was
They gave us an
done
extension.
May 1st.
They gave us an extension.
They gave everybody in the state an extension because a lot of districts in the state didn't send anybody to those meetings and didn't learn all the new rules. So we're one-upping, which is awesome. So we're prepared, but I held off on submitting our tag plan because I wanted to make sure that the board approved it. And then there's a few documents I still need to link in the actual tag document. And anyone is welcome to my office to talk to me about Talented and Gifted, about the process of what it looks like. This page right here, this really beautiful one, with lots of arrows, took me a long time to figure out how to do. This kind of explains the process and what it will look like for you. So I am here to help, and we need to get like 35 to 75 kids in the next year. So I'm excited, because that is one of our goals, to get us up to par with the rules of the state. Mind you, not up to par with the rest of the state, because everybody's struggling just like us, but we're gonna be better. Any questions?
Nice job, by the way. Thank you.
Very nice.
All right, special education.
Just a little bit of update on our numbers. We did go up by 7 students, so we have a total of 123 now. So we're still right below that 20%, but so it's still concerning, and I do
Which is
think
about 4% over the state.
yeah, so, but we've done a lot of work in making sure that our eligibilities are correct. And I also think with working with Jen, with the tag plan and all that, we'll be seeing some kids that are even dual identified, that might have some struggles, that can qualify for special ed, but also have some outstanding skills in other areas as well. And that helps, again, create a better story about the kid. And again, helps them get into their placements and helps with some scholarship offers as well. Just a couple of brief things on the report. I mentioned some openings for summer school and for next year, but for summer school, Susan and Dusty have been calling people and recruiting people and whatnot, and summer school staffing is looking wonderful, and we're getting some of our more impacted kids that we talked about before attending summer school more this year as well. So again, that outreach that the district has done and emphasizing the most highly impacted kids is also going to be going into the summer as well. So that's very wonderful. Also we're also finding good candidates for our special education teachers that are open. And then just another shout out to the admin at the 712, including Ms. Young, Ms. Holtzman, and Ms. Harris, who have been deliberate about our high school schedule and finding more ways for our special needs students, our students with special needs, to get more targeted interventions. For example, kids that need really just a focus on math, they can take a math lab and a study skills class to help them with organization. So we're really opening up those opportunities for the students, and what a deliberate effort that's been, that will not only help our students with special needs, but just any kids that need that little extra push for organization, that extra push for math that keeps them on that track for graduation. And again, opening up those opportunities for after-school programs as well. And just one thing on the legislative update with the abbreviated day, talked a little bit about that the last meeting, and that's the consensus that is coming, that abbreviated days should be rare and minimal. And again, going back to even the exit interview about the district focusing on the most highly impacted kids, it's basically, we offer every one of our kids 100% time here and 100% of their day. And so when you hear news about abbreviated kids and all the things that are going around about not serving kids. That is not happening in Lake County. So just want to make that really clear as well. Okay? Any questions? If not, you guys are always feel free to contact me or anything like that.
All right, Ms. Janet.
Bring it down to reality.
Okay, this evening I'm bringing to you year-end, or month-ending March 31st. So this is July 1 all the way through March 31st, 2023. Overall, our year-to-date revenues is down by 12.72% overall. Part of that is due to the local sources, which is our tax, our property taxes that we receive. So there's been some reassessed values. I've mentioned this before, but sure is something that we need to impress upon, that there was some reassessed land values, and so there was loss in tax receipts. The good news is that we will make up those tax receipts through our state school fund. The bad news is it won't be until May of '24, so a whole year later, when we do a true up of the state school fund and the property taxes.
Janet, just to comment, the loss of revenue from taxes is Ruby Pipe,
Yes.
which is now called Tallgrass.
Oh,
But
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, so most of that is from the Ruby pipeline, yeah. So we're down, essentially. And then, of course, our state sources, which is our state school fund, and we estimated pretty low on our ADM rate, knowing that we had a loss of kids due to COVID, and so that is also down. Now, so I did mention that the May of '24 is a makeup, essentially, and this past year we are 21, 22, they go through and they audit, and we audit, and then we true those numbers up at the end of the day. ODE does, and so we will actually owe back to the state $69,800 for the May payment. Now, they'll net that against our last payment in May. We don't get any state school fund in June. They will net that against our $864,000 that we will get for our estimate of 22-23. So that nets out to $794,000 that we will actually receive. That will be our last payment for fiscal year 22-23. We will also get a true up of our high school grant, which equates to about $5,700. We already have received $40,000 earlier in the year. And then we also have a high cost disability estimate coming forward in the amount of about $8,200. So what that means is any of our one-on-one kids that we facilitate, anything over $30,000, we can recoup some of that money with high cost disability. So that equated out to $8,200. So I just wanted to bring that to light. That's part of that May true up that we do every year. Any questions on that?
So Janet, at the beginning, that the true up we're going to be 300,000, but luckily we're not. Okay.
Yeah, I thought we were going to be pretty short by about 300,000 according to my estimate, but luckily they proved me wrong. It's not good, but they proved me wrong. And then, so moving, any other questions? Sorry, I didn't mean to blow past you there. So our expenditures, overall, we're right in line. We estimated about a 57% at this point in time, March 31st. We're at 58%. Our salaries and benefits are a little bit high from what we estimated versus all other consumable supplies, durable supplies, and that sort of thing in the general fund. So that kind of closes that gap and gets us pretty well on target in our expenditures. And then, of course, our ending fund balance at the end of March was $1.3 million at the end of March. Is there any questions in regards to that? And again, my door also is always open. So if you ever feel the need that you want to get buried in budgets and fun things like that I find fun, you are more than welcome to come in my door.
Sounds like I'll be Good Friday.
Yep. Any questions whatsoever?
We're good. All right. Moving on to old business. Do we have no old business? New business. So, first back.
Approve the budget, yeah.
Approve the budget.
I want to thank the budget committee who was been on there, it was great. They did a really good job.
Good meetings that we had. So, do I have a motion to the budget?
I move to approve the 2023-24 approved budget and resolutions 4, 5, and 6 as presented.
Got a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the 2023-24 budget, approved budget and resolution 4, 5, and 6 as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Number 2, provision bus camera purchase.
Yes, sir.
This lets us have security cameras on the bus, and it will be able to track things and all the way from speed and everything, so it will allow us a lot of options. Be a lot more safety. It's good. And that's 70% reimbursed like all transportation. Federal fund safety to cover that, not from the general fund.
Any questions?
The only question I had on, I'm trying to find the page. Was, it said 67,754,
Right.
but then this total didn't include the options of 53,124. Is that?
That installation.
So MSRP was 67,000, so we have a savings of about 14,000. I apologize, 53,000 is what we should.
Yeah, that's
Sorry.
so it's a little better.
I'm a little sleep deprived.
So I was like, we only spent 53.
Thank you, I apologize, that's
53,124, yeah.
that's my bad.
So if we're gonna approve it, then please make sure we get that number.
And then you'll also have a 5-year device license for $240 per year.
Say that last part again.
Which is worked into this 53.
It is, it's part of the 53.
Yeah.
That's part of the
Part
53.
of the package.
That's to keep it going as packaged in case there's damage or anything like that.
And that's 12 buses from my calculations, right?
Yep. It's 10 buses.
It should be only 10, because I
10
do
buses.
have one bus that is
So these
inoperational.
other two, yeah, because there was 12 listed as units, so.
Yeah.
Right.
And
so is there-
we'll back that off to only get for the buses that we actually have.
So it'll be a little bit less than the 53.
Mhm.
It will be.
Yeah, but we'll be above, in case there's something that goes awry, we'll be above that. Or,
So when we get our new buses, we're gonna have to install there again,
yeah, we would probably just transfer it.
transfer them because we're replacing 2 of the older buses with the 2.
Right.
So we'll just be able to change its description over.
And I think that it's been something that the community has also asked us for, because of behaviors and those kinds of things, and, just bus driver responsibilities as well. So it's gonna protect the students, and it's gonna protect our drivers at the end of the day.
Makes a safer ride.
And you'll have a
Oh, you go ahead.
70% reimbursement through our transportation grant, which is included in our state school fund. And so that 30% that we're looking at would normally be out of pocket in our general fund, because that's how we get reimbursed. We're roughly about 500 and some thousand of actual expenses this year with our buses, which includes, fuel and repairs and maintenance and that sort of thing. We're right about 500,000. And so what will happen is the purchase of this will include in that 70% that we can get reimbursement from the state from, but then 30% of that is, we have some ESSER 3 funds that are still out there, which that grant was 1.6 million when we started. We're roughly gonna end the year about $1 million. We have till September of '24 to get that spent out, and this is one of the ways that we thought we could get that.
It's earmarked money we can't use for salaries and things like that.
So at the end of the day, it's covered.
It's all
At the end of the
covered.
day, it's covered.
At the end of the day, it's piecemeal, all pie, we get one full pie.
It's a lot of billing.
And it won't come out of general.
No general fund, and we'll take out a classroom or staff.
So, is there any more questions other than that? Annie, you got anything?
I don't have anything on the bus cameras, but can I add something really quick on the line item above there for the budget?
I would say.
Okay, so I just want to encourage the public, and all is welcome to attend these meetings, and they are posted publicly annually, and they may not be as riveting as these meetings, but I encourage everyone to attend and be present for our annual budget meetings. So I just wanted to let that be known.
Thanks, Amy. All right, so moving back to the provision bus camera purchase. Do I have a motion? To approve or not approve?
So, sorry, one last question on this. Is it, the cameras will be operative, allowed in use regardless of the event and activity? So
Right.
6-day field trip, the whole thing is going,
If we're
bus,
on
sporting
route,
activities.
Athletics, everything.
if we're on route, athletics, it will be
When the
on.
bus runs, it runs. It's a black box.
Again, protection to our students or teachers or staff, everything.
And including the driver.
It really is a black box.
So I'm going to approve the purchase of the ProVision bus cameras at an amount of $53,124 as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to approve the purchase of the provision bus cameras as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Move on to consent agenda.
10.3.
Oh, yeah, we added one. Sorry, Donna, sorry. So 10.3, the 4-day school day. 4-day school day. Which I didn't write down how to read this, so just. So do we have any discussion on the 4-day school week?
So I guess my concern was the public input. We got over
52.
how much?
352 as of Friday.
352 as of Friday. So that's pretty good.
It's
Pretty good sampling. My concern was that maybe we didn't have enough information, but if we opened it up again, I'm not sure how much more we would get. And with the majority in favor of a 4-day school week, that gives us a pretty good sample.
My take on this is we've got overwhelming support from our staff. We definitely know that there's concerns. Those concerns, I'm sure, have been felt by every district that went to a 4-day week, and yet they've resolved them. You can search online and say, oh my gosh, this was an absolute disaster, and all the kids are, struggling, and it's worse. I mean, obviously, there's a bell curve. There's going to be, some outliers to some data, but overwhelmingly, it's a positive, and especially in rural areas like ours, most of Eastern Oregon is in a 4-day week already. Most of the district, or the county is already in this. We've talked about it to death over the years, and we brought it up thankfully again this year, and I think it's time to move to it. I think it's going to help, with burnout, with all sorts of students, teachers, we're feeling pressure on all sides, obviously, and it's not just our teachers or our students, but everybody in the workforce, just in the country is feeling pain. I think this helps get back to that family time. The days will be a little bit longer. Sports will have to start a little bit longer, or after hours, but I think this is a good move. I think why it's important to do it even tonight is to get this to the unions as you're finishing up negotiations before we'll adopt a new contract. So I'm absolutely in favor of this. And I think that when we look back in a couple of years, the next couple of years will be tough, as growing pains always are when you're doing something new. But I think overwhelmingly you're going to see the morale come back, and it'll become easier to recruit and to retain. And I don't think there would be any way to suggest that our students would be in any way negatively affected those that, intend to go to college or anything like that, those that need to work in high school will have that opportunity, another day of the week that they work, otherwise it's gonna be able to, definitely go on and on, but I wanna just leave it at that for now unless someone has any specific questions for me.
So, I guess, this is an add-on agenda item. I just want to know, why was it not an agenda item if we weren't ready to?
Well, remember you asked us to get more information because we had the staff survey and we went right out and worked really hard the last, 3 days getting that survey out quickly. We turned it around in 3 days. So, I mean, yeah, we'd love to have more time, but, for you guys, you have two options. You can either move forward with it now, but we do have some hurdles we have to go over. I mentioned those already in my report to you. So, you can say this is where we're moving and direct me either way. But,
So if we did have more time, what could be accomplished?
well, I mean, I work for the board, so the bottom line, you guys come and tell me, get this thing ready to bring to us next time, great, and act like it's going forward. That's one option, or you just make it happen and then we just go forward. Either way, we're here to serve you guys and serve our community, and the community has spoken in different surveys, so there are some major concerns, as I mentioned, and we do have to work with our union. This is a significant change in working environment, but I also will come back, and I know the union knows this, they're very cooperative, both of them are, so it's not negative at all, but their membership
So
wanted it.
I guess what I failed to mention when I was asking about the community, we've already had a work session
We did.
where we heard from certified and classified employees. And we had a really good response on that as well.
Yep.
Was it 96 responses?
Yes.
And very high majority in favor of it,
80%, yeah.
over 80%.
And 201 pages, and it was a lot of comments, and I summarized
We went through all the comments.
all the comments. I did not do that for this one, it would I don't think I could have done it, but no, it was something else. But if the board wants that, we will get whatever you want.
I think if we can see that this is the way to go, it gives us some time by adopting it now to, again, work with, classifieds and certifieds to try to make sure that the union agreements are able to be negotiated with this in mind, that previously maybe wasn't thought about. We can always, say we're gonna go to this or not, but I think, again, with overwhelming support for this, again, the 20% roughly that may not be in favor for it now, I think we'll get them convinced otherwise, very soon.
In the survey, it's 12% are really tough against it, but I say 20 because there's that non-decided group.
Yeah, and some of those were, again, those main concerns that we've all had, that we're, very aware of, that we will address, which is the food insecurities, a safe place to go. Obviously, less pay would be a concern for those that are looking for us. But all this, again, if we keep the ball rolling, then we can move forward. But I think if we want to go to this, I think it's, a vote like this would have to happen at some point.
Oh, it definitely would. This is a board decision, and it's a big one, and if we get our walking orders, our whole administrative team will be working frantically on this. We have to deal with our yearly calendar, and that would eliminate the issue we already talked about today with, with the fair. So, and then also the schedule. Other thing we'd have to work on is, like, if there's a holiday on Monday, we come to work on Tuesday, that would be some of the board policies and procedures we have to put in place. There's a lot of structure that will have to be put under it. But other districts have done it, and we will be professional plagiarists and steal all the good ideas.
I think like tonight, when you were talking about the individual that called in about the concerns of, the youngers and stuff like that, it's a longer day, that's a pretty valid point.
It was very valid, and that person, by the way, didn't call in, I hope I didn't make it sound Dave. That person came to my office, so I talked directly.
And it's just, I think I have some of those concerns because I have littles and I see how they are at the end of the day, and I just use it in that scenario. But, I'm not against it, and, you know, I've always said I'm kind of just on the fence, trying to figure out the right reason behind it. But, is there any other, Annie, you got anything?
Well, I was actually surprised at the data about the food insecurities and the childcare. Like some of our larger issues that we thought would be more on the forefront. In the overall data, they were much lower than we thought. And it was surprising how many people are in favor of that. So I too share the little concern, but I do want to honor the data as well. I mean, there are a lot in favor, so I guess that's, you know, I took it all into account. I read all of it, the positive and the constructive. So I guess, I'm processing it in my head as well. But I just wanted to mention that a couple of our pressing issues were much lower than we thought they would have been.
Mr. Chairman, if I could say one more comment. Absolutely. You know, we did this survey with the prior superintendent.
7 years ago and then 4 years ago.
7 years ago, 4 years ago. And at the time, we didn't have the backpack program, a very good situation. But we also see, so backpack program is really good, and hopefully everybody knows that's what's going on. There's a group that builds those backpacks. Mr. Gerber, I don't know if he's still here, but he helps orchestrate that. Kids come help, and they build a lot of things to go home for the kids for a weekend. And now, you know, we got told today that would increase if it's a 3-day weekend.
And I talked to Rebecca on that, I didn't have to interrupt you, but she said that what we do is we could do the food commodities and actually use the federal program to put the backpack program together for that extra day.
You know, people having less hours, going from a 40-hour week to a 32-hour week, potentially.
At least 3 times a month.
At least 3 times a month, you know, that does affect them. We heard from other school districts where that was going to be a factor for some of the classified, and they probably would go find other work. But once it got started, then people kind of liked it. And they found that they didn't find very many people that actually left for that reason. So, you know, I guess the difference between 4 years ago and now is overwhelmingly, like Ms. Bunton said, you know, pretty surprising on the amount of support. So I think our community has changed, and you know, times have changed a little bit, and
Technology's changed too. I mean, this is the only positive thing I can say about COVID is we got more technology one-on-one for our kids. I think that's a lot of people also said they would never work at home. Now people work at home. So I think that's what I think, in my opinion, the strange attractor that should move this forward would have been the COVID and the one-on-one connectivity.
I'm a bit of a traditionalist, and it's hard for me to make some change, but anyway, I guess where I'm at now is that I'd like to give it a try.
Right, and would entertain a motion then to approve the board, and how do you, I don't.
Yeah, I've got the motion. So I move to approve the 4-day school week beginning the 2023-2024 school year.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Dawn, I read your paper. Okay, to approve the 4-day school week beginning in the 2023-2024 school year. All in favor?
Aye.
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 We got walking orders. Okay, I do want to caveat, we'll come back and do our best, but there are some major hurdles that we have to legally go through, especially with the unions, we don't want to run over anybody. Okay, we'll take care of it, we'll have something for you next month. So I recommend, Mr. Chairman, that we put that as an item of report status. Yes, we probably have some calendars and stuff for you.
All right, moving on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I can do it. I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I got a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Announcements. No announcements? Next board meeting agenda items. We added some.
Yep, June 14th, 2023. OSBA set policy updates, building principals reports, athletic director report, 23-24 staff and athletic handbooks, and 23-24 board meeting calendar. And then a 4-day school week report. And then, of course, I will be contacting you all tomorrow for the special meeting as well.
Anything else? All right. Adjournment.
I move we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Second.
I got a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.